There's now just one final step to go in trying to understand Derrida's ethics. And what I want you to do now is take that structure that we saw in relation to Abraham's sacrifice of Isaac. You remember the conventional moral code on the one side and the unique singular address of the other, the command of the individual other on the other side. Now, think of that this time in terms of the two ideas of law and justice. So law is like the conventional moral code. It's universal, it's one size fits all, it's not unique to the singular case. And what Derrida calls justice is absolute singularity, okay, the absolute call of God to Abraham. So law is general and shared and conventional. Justice is unique and singular. Now, let's think about law and justice in those terms. Derrida has the helpful distillation of his position in this quote here. He says, if I know what to do, well, I'd apply the rule and teach my students to apply the rule. But would that be ethical? What he's suggesting here is that merely following rules is not actually what ethics is about. He continues, I'm not sure. I would consider this unethical. Ethics starts when you don't know what to do, when there's a gap between knowledge and action, and you have to take responsibility for inventing the new rule, which doesn't exist. And this makes sense, doesn't it? It's why the response, I was simply following orders, is no excuse for committing genocide. Simply following a rule doesn't guarantee anything about that rule's ethical status. And if all you're doing is following a rule, you're not thinking about individuals at all. You're doing something that a machine could do. So ethics is not about rule following and conventions. Let's bring this back to our example of our dear old grandmother and how much money we'd exchange her for. Now, of course, in an ideal world, we would never have to make a calculation like that. But we don't live in an ideal world, do we? And in terms of healthcare spending, for example, we have to make those sort of impossible judgments all the time. Which treatments are we going to fund and which treatments are we not going to fund? Which grandmas are we going to save and which grandmas are we not going to save? And these two realities, the fact that I don't want to make a decision like that, I can't. I can never sit happily with a decision like that. And on the other hand, the fact that I've got to make decisions like that. If we want to run society together, all of us have to make decisions like that. Those two together are what is called the double bind of Derrida's ethics. I can't decide. I must decide. Neither of those can cancel out the other, and I live in a very uneasy tension between them.